Hey guys, Josh Carter here with One Objective. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 mid-summer baits, so stay tuned. Alright guys, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm going to be going over 5 baits that I love to throw mid-summer. I mean, this can be a tough time, whether you're getting out early in the morning and fishing till about lunchtime, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, something like that, depending on if you got a tournament or not. Or if you're going and you're fishing from about, 5 till dark or after dark. So I'm going to kind of go into some of the baits that I always have tied on, I always have on the front deck, and I'm going to tell you why and how I like to use them. So let's dig into it. All right guys, this bait is my #1 bait that I love to throw, no matter if it's, wintertime, summertime, doesn't really matter. It does good all year long, and I always have this on the front deck of my boat. But during the midsummer, where the fish are they're pulled way deep out on the points, you're actually I know we got all this graph technology and all that, but this bait actually helps you to drag and see what kind of rock it is, or feel what all kinds of structure is down there, but also help pick up some really great bites. I mean, you catch some really big fish off of this. And if you don't have it set up right, or you don't have the right setup, it can be tough with getting good hook sets because you're making such long casts. If you're fishing it really deep, and then also depending on how you got your bait set up. So I'm going to show you right here what my #1 is. All right, my #1 bait, as you can see, I got my leader here. I got a missile-based destroyer, green pumpkin. Going all the way up here is my weight. And this is Carolina rig. A lot of you guys know about a Carolina rig. I got this on an NRX Carolina rig and rod. And super sensitive, teamed up with Sunline Sniper. This is 20-pound test. I go anywhere between 15 to 20-pound test. A lot of it is just due to abrasion resistance. But also too, I mean, you're gonna be down there fishing a lot of heavy, nasty, gnarly rocks and trees and all that stuff. So having a good setup with line is very important. As you can see here, you can see how far my weight is up there compared to here. I do that a lot of times if I'm in a spot where they're really finicky, or if I got too short of a leader and they'll pick this weight up. I've actually had it where they've picked it up and carrying off with it. When you set the hook, all of a sudden the fish is fighting funny and the hook is in its belly, in its side. So it's like he had it and then you set the hook and you jerk the hook into his belly or something. But I've had them where they'll pick that weight up a lot if the lure is too close to the weight. So a lot of times I'll make a little bit longer leader. This is a lot of times is longer than I normally run, but like say I'm fishing some really, really deep points and fishing really, really slow. And I like that bait to kind of, stay up off the bottom a little bit further, and further off the bottom there, so when I'm dragging it. But that's my #1 search bait. That's my #1. I mean, I will have this in my hands most of the day. If I see them down there on the bottom on live scope or any of that stuff, I'm going to have this one in my hands. Now my next bait is, especially around Smith Mountain Lake, on docks, all that stuff, it's really, really hard to beat a drop shot this time of the year. Now, I will say, let's throw #3 in here as well, because this is a Shaky Head. I will bounce back and forth between these two, because I've had situations where I've had, heck, my wife in the back of the boat just catching a bejeez out of them on a Shaky Head, and I'm throwing a drop shot and not getting a bite, fishing the same kind of stuff, same color worm. Then I've switched up and started getting bites again. So it's funny how this can be just, a couple of inches off the bottom, and this can be right on the bottom. It just depends on what they're keying in on, because this time of the year, yes, they're feeding on bait fish. They're going to feed on, they're opportunist feeders, so they're going to feed on what comes by them. But the crawfish are out heavy. I mean, if you put a fish in your live well and you leave it there for a while, 9 times out of 10, if you got a good limit in there, you're going to start seeing shellfish remains in there. Now, if it was like the shad spawn going on and you put your fish in there, yeah, you're going to start seeing a lot of shad remains. So, but this time of the year, a Shaky Head and a drop shot is really hard to beat off of docks, skipping them under docks in the shade, or deep brush piles, that you can kind of sit over top of or stay off and cast these Shaky Head or drop shot into it and, work it around. Because, there's times on deep drop shot, on deep brush piles where I can go right over top of it and dangle it right over top of that brush pile, and they'll come up out of that brush pile and get it. But there's also times where they're just kind of hanging out by the bottom. They don't want to come off the bottom. They'll come up a little bit, you see on the live scope, and they go back down. That's when I go over to my Shaky Head and start throwing that around the docks and see if I can, or the brush pile, and see if I can pick up a bite from it. So that's my top 3 right now. So it's Carolina rig, drop shot, and a Shaky Head. Also, I'm going to throw in a bonus one in here just because I like you guys, and I think it's hard to do everything in like a top 5 because there's always that one other bait that you need to have. But first, before we get to that one, let's go to this bait right here. This is a Texas rig. Now this one's set up with a black weight, one objective weight with black beads and a big 10-inch worm. This is a Mag 2, Zoom Mag 2. I'll go between this, I'll go to a Baby Destroyer, and I'll go to a Pocket Crawl, like in Green Pumpkin or something like that, night and day. I've actually been black during the day and done really well with it also, but most of the time during the day I'm throwing something in a Green Pumpkin, watermelon color. But if they're feeding heavily on crawls, especially in these clear reservoirs, it seems like the Green Pumpkin really excels. But like I say, it just depends on where I'm fishing at, how heavy of a weight I use. A lot of times during the day, I don't use a bead unless it's kind of like real dingy water, real dirty water. I might just put one bead in there. But during the day, most of the time, I don't put a bead in there. At night, I'm putting a bead in there. And I'll have another video out of just basically night fishing and how I set up a lot of this stuff. But like I say, I got 2 black beads here, big black worm. It's hard to beat that during the summer, especially at nighttime. They just eat that thing up. Now, I'll switch over to an old Monster or just a Green Pumpkin Mag 2 and throw that like on rock bluffs, where you kind of got the stair step bluffs where you can kind of keep work. I'll work it all the way down to about 40 foot and have caught them down there before. Now you got to be careful when you catch them down that deep because you need to bend them. You need to make sure you got proper fish care and all the right tools in your boat to take care of them, because I have seen a lot of tournaments during the summer where there's fish floating at the weigh-ins, or you just come up and on a point somewhere the fish is still alive. I'll bend them and put them back down in the water and they're just fine. So guys, make sure if you're going to fish during the summertime, you're going to fish deep, please have a benzing tool in your boat or have the weights where you can put it in your live well and have some ice, and that way you can bring that fish back to life instead of just kind of catching them and throwing over and letting it be a waste. Because if that's the case, you might as well just take it home and eat it, if you're just going to do all that. So my number 4 technique is going to be a crankbait. Now this is a 6 cents cloud, and we got, like I said, we got these in stock at oneobjectivebf.com. I'll put links to all these baits that I got right here, and that way you can check them out on our website and order whatever you need. But the crankbait, deep diving crankbait, is really good if you're just kind of searching. If I find a deep brush pile or a good rock ledge or something like that, I'm going to throw that first. That's going to be my first bait that I'm going to throw over and see if I can get a reaction bite out of them. If I see them just kind of rolling up to it, not really hitting it, or just kind of moving around and not interested in it, and then I'll switch up to like throwing a Shaky Head or Carolina rig or Texas rig, drop shot, any of that stuff down there. But the first thing I'm going to throw when I pull up on anything that looks super fishy, that's out there deep, and if it can hit the bottom, I'm going to throw that. Now, you don't necessarily need to hit the bottom. As long as you can get it down there about, I say 3 to 4 foot above their head, maybe 5 foot above their head, depending on how clear the water is. Sometimes, you know how it is in some clear waters, you can work a top water on top of fish in 20 foot of water, especially like spotted bass lakes and stuff. But basically where we're fishing at, if I can get it about 5 foot above their head, I don't have to hit the object, and just where I can pause it a couple times to see if they'll come up and hit it. But if that don't work, then I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to some slower presentations. So like I said, I know that these are 5 baits. I do want to throw a number 6 in just because this one is a hard bait not to throw. It's fun to throw, and you can get some really great fish catches early in the morning and in the afternoon, and then sometimes during the day depending on where you fish at. But that's going to be the popper. It's really hard to beat a popper. I just, like I say, early in the morning, right when that sun's just starting to come up, it's still kind of shaded, they will crush this bait. Just mad at it. Through the day, I've had it to where I can get it up under docks. If it's not real wavy, which around Smithmount Lake, anything past 9:30 is the ocean. But you know, if it's not real wavy or in the back of a cut or something like that, you can work this under a dock or under some overhangs, and it's hard to beat a popper, man. And in the afternoon and then through the nighttime, like, you know, I'll go at nighttime, and we've had it where we've thrown a popper all night long and they just kill it. So it just depends on, you just gotta feel the fish out, you know what I mean, and see how they're reacting to it, because sometimes they're just not on that top water bite. But in the mornings, I'm throwing something like this, a reaction bait, to try to get that morning bite going and seeing, because I mean, you can catch some monsters off of a popper. And I mean, it's just fun anyways. If you can keep it going until it just stops, it's a fun bait to have and to catch, you know, catch fish off of. So, all right guys, well, that is my top 5, actually top 6 baits that I love to throw in the summertime, especially midsummer. You know, a lot of this can carry on through the year, depending on where you live at and what part of the country you're in and all that stuff. So, but most of the time I have these baits tied on all year long, but these are going to be the first ones that I pull out of my rod box. Now, there's times where it might be really windy and I'm going to go to like a spinner bait, or if it's a good rainy day and I'm going to throw a Zara spook or some, you know, some of them baits, depending on where you're at and which lake you're at. But Smith Mountain Lake, where I'm from, this is my top 5 baits. It's a super deep lake. And those fish can move so much. I mean, they can be in a foot of water, and then they can be into 25, 30 foot of water, and just like that. So that way I can kind of cover all the depth ranges there. There's other baits that work really well during the summer, but you know, there's jerk baits, there's, like say, spinner baits, there's buzz baits, there's so many different things you can throw, and you got to just kind of figure out what you got confidence in. But for me, these are my go-to baits. I'll put a description below, in description below, of all the different baits I got here. And like I say, go look at them, try them out, let me know how you do. I'd love to see some fish pictures. You can share them on our One Objective BF Outdoors channel, or our One Objective BF BF page, One Objective Bass Fishing. So, but if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to grow this channel. These are going to be being Tackle Tuesday videos we're wanting to do, and then that way, you know, like on Thursdays we'll have like fishing videos out and stuff like that, and tournaments and all that we've fished. But it's been kind of busy at the shop here lately, and then family activities, vacations and all that. We haven't been able to get on the water and film a whole lot. So we're trying to do some tips and techniques videos for you guys to stay current with you, and let you know how we're doing and what we're using this time of the year. So, but other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and also hit the subscribe button. We'll talk to you later, guys. See ya.